All right, sorry about that. I was actually doing some changes and didn't realize that the time had already come about for us to get started on this live training. So, for those of you that are already here with me, want to say hello to you. If this is your first time being here with me, my name is Rhonda M. Jordan, and what I do is I teach solopreneurs how to create businesses from the very start. So, if you are starting from scratch, I teach you how to do that. I focus primarily on individuals who are 45 years of age and older, and really just focus on showing them the exact steps in the right order to build a solid business. So if that's you, you definitely want to stick around. Today we're going to be talking about, focusing on building an audience, but specifically we're going to talk about two different types of content that will help you do that and allow you to do it without, having to struggle, so to speak. Because I'm going to tell you exactly not only what type of content, but I'm also going to share with you how you can find topics to cover so that the audience you're hoping to attract will actually have the ability to find you. So, if you are in fact here with me, say hello. Let's see here. Looks like Denise is here, and yes, she is definitely within my audience. So, today we're going to be doing a couple of different things that will help you find that content. Because the thing about it is this: when you are building a business, whether you are starting from scratch, you already have an audience, the whole goal is to consistently create the content that's going to allow people to come into your audience that don't know anything about you. And what we're going to be focusing on is how to do it organically, which means not having to worry about going out and paying for ads or anything like that. I'm not against anyone doing that. It's just what I find is for most people, when they're first getting started, there's so many things that they have to learn, and learning how to create ads that are actually going to draw people in is just one more thing that they don't really have time to worry about. Now, what we're going to be doing, and I encourage you to grab your notes so that you can, in fact, take notes on the information and then be able to refer back to that. So I want you to be able to learn how to create that audience. And so I'm going to focus on two very specific types of content. And the first one is going to be searchable content. The second type of content is going to be evergreen content. Don't worry if you haven't heard those terms. We're actually going to go through and we'll discuss them as we get into the actual training here. So, the thing that I want you to really think about is new people are getting onto the internet to search topics every single day. Now, there are also people that are already on the internet, have been on for quite a long time, but all of a sudden they develop an interest in a specific topic and they're trying to figure out as much as they can about that. Well, typically, when they're trying to figure out what it is they need to learn and how to learn about that topic, they're going to do so in the form of questions. And so, this is where you can really shine, because what you can do, because you're already familiar with this topic, whatever your niche happens to be, you have to put yourself into the mind of a brand new person. Now, I know that it can be challenging, particularly when you've been, working in your niche for quite a while, to think back to what it was like to be very brand new. I mean, like brand spanking new. Because oftentimes the things that you think everybody must know, they really don't. And those are the people that are on the internet searching for the answers to those questions. And so, what you're going to do in terms of the two types of content that we're going to discuss today is you're going to focus on giving them content that answers questions they have, or giving them answers to problems that they're encountering. Because that's the second thing. Once people get to a point where they are learning about a specific topic, inevitably they're going to run into a problem, a challenge, or they just can't figure something out. Case in point, this happened to me yesterday. So I'm in the process of actually recording a course, and I'm using a software. It's the exact same software that I use to live stream. But I was running into a challenge with my camera. Now, I use this camera all the time, but it started overheating. Now, I live stream in 4K, which requires a lot of resources, and my camera it never locks up on me like that, or never just completely shuts down. So, what did I do? Last night, after a lot of frustration about what was going on, I started searching for the answers to that. I put in the exact type of content or camera that I have. I explained the exact problem. And after a few searches, I finally figured out what it was. Now, it was something really simple. It was nothing more than I had my display screen on my camera closed while I was actually attempting to record this course. Now, when I live stream, I never have it closed. So that was user error. But do you see what I mean in terms of encountering a problem and now I'm trying to figure out how I can solve that? And so it was just putting in search terms that allowed me to get the answer. Now I'm good to go. So that's where I'm saying it's not always that someone is going to be brand spanking new. It's as they get into specific things, they're going to encounter things that they need the answer to. And I'm telling you, it could be something that if someone asked you the question, you could go on for 15 minutes about it and explain it, without any problems. But they are stuck. They are absolutely stuck. And that's exactly where I was yesterday. And I'm sure if you think about yourself, I'm confident that there are things that, you've had to go to the internet to try to figure out simply because you couldn't find the answer. And so don't ever discount the fact that people are searching for answers to very simple questions, but they're also searching for answers to things that are problems to them, but second nature to you. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so just know that these are things that are going to happen. So, hi, Mickey. It's good to see you here. I'm glad that you are here. Denise says, "Oh my goodness, I thought only I." No, absolutely not. And so that's why, if you think about your own niche, I'm confident as it happens in every niche. When you think about your own niche, I'm telling you, there are things that people struggle with. And sometimes they don't have the answer, so they end up frustrated and then they just leave it alone. Whereas if they knew how to search for it and you had created content on that, guess what? Your content is likely to, show up in their search. So just don't forget that that is definitely something we should be looking for. And I'm actually going to show you a way that you can search for things that people. I'm going to share my screen and show you a way that you can actually do it. Now, another thing that happens, and I'm going to start kind of with my training now, is that when people are brand new or new to a specific niche that they want to start growing in, a lot of times they're just not posting content consistently. The second thing is they're posting content that just poof disappears in 24 to 48 hours. Now, that's going to happen primarily when you are building an audience on a platform like Instagram or Facebook, because that content disappears so quickly, or X or something like that. And the reason for it is, in most cases it is not search based, and because there's so much content flowing through those platforms that it just doesn't stick around. So that's why one of the things that I want to do is to show you how to create content and perhaps even nudge you toward a platform that will keep your content around for quite a while. All right. So by the time that we're done today, you're actually going to know two specific types of content that will, in fact, keep your content popping up and available for people, not just for today or tomorrow, but literally for years to come. All right. Now let's go ahead and talk again about what most beginners are doing. And sometimes this is someone who maybe has been creating content for a while, but has kind of forgotten. And they just come up with random content ideas, primarily because, they've been doing this for so long that, oh, what else can I just talk about today? Or they're brand new and they just have no idea. That's why you have to have a strategy. And so when we talk about strategy, it means you have to think through how this stuff is going to actually perform. You have to remember that trends fade quickly. So, if in fact you're trying to jump on a trend that's out there, well, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that or you can't do that and it won't work, but just know that that content's going to fade away or lose its relevancy after a pretty short period of time. All right. And I want you to also think in terms of a long term strategy whenever you are creating content. And what I mean by that is you want to position yourself in such a way that the content you're creating is going to be working for you 24/7, 365. And I'm a big proponent of this because I don't believe, and I've talked about this on my lives before, I don't believe that we should have to always be in content creation mode. I don't believe that we can't take vacations because we're afraid that, if we're not posting every single day, that, people are not going to find us. No, that is a strategy when you have to post every single day and multiple times per day. That's a strategy to me for just being tired. And most of us have worked for many, many years and we've done the grind, we've done the work hard. Now I'm talking about let's focus on working smart. And if you are building the right type of content, you can very easily take a week away from your business because you have a content, a bank of content that is working for you. But in addition to that, you have searchable and you also have evergreen content, which are the two types of content we're going to talk about today that are definitely working for you. All right. Now, here's something I want you to write in your notes in this, and I want to read it because I don't want to miss this. If your content can't be found later, it cannot grow your audience. And that's a very strong statement, but it's true. And you know what? We work too hard putting out pieces of content for it not to be found beyond 48 hours. I mean, that is definitely not what we're looking to do. We want this content to work for us today, tomorrow, next week, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, and 2 and 3 and 4 years from now. And I know that may seem like, well, how am I going to do that if I'm creating a reel? No, we're going to work on creating focused content, content that people specifically are looking for. Okay. And so that's where the searchable and the evergreen content is going to come in. All right, so let's talk about searchable, and then I'm going to show you how you can actually come up with an endless amount of content here. All right, so the first thing, and when you see me looking down like that, I'm just going through my notes, what I have here. But content that is searchable is something that someone goes to a specific search engine. That could be Google, Bing, it could be Yahoo, it could be pretty much anything, okay? Pinterest, even, because most people don't realize, but Pinterest is also a search engine as well. And then one of the biggest channels out there, or I should say websites out there that is, in fact, a search engine is YouTube. And that's where I want to start nudging you a little bit to consider YouTube as your platform of choice for growing your business. Now, I know it can be scary to get in front of a camera, but when you see some of the things that I'm going to share with you today, it might help you get past your fears. All right. So now what I want you to do is to think about what is it, think about your niche, and then what I want you to do is to think about the types of things that people are searching for. And you might be saying, I've racked my brain, I just don't know. So let me show you a couple of different things. So I want to get into that now. Let me first talk about evergreen, and then I'll come back and show you the actual examples. So as I mentioned, when you're looking at these specific platforms, just know that people are already looking for solutions. People are not if they're trying to figure something out, they're probably not watching entertainment content, which is why if you can quickly solve their problem and specifically do it in a logical and sequential order, you're going to win because that's what people are looking for. They're definitely looking for that. Now, I also want to share with you, I'm not saying all of your content needs to be searchable. I'm not saying all of your content needs to be evergreen, but what I am saying is you definitely need to incorporate this into your content strategy. All right. Now, the other thing I love about searchable content is this. It is the type of content that's going to allow people to find you. And see, when you're brand new, or let's say you've changed niches and people don't really know you for that, then you have to have a way for people to find you. And as I mentioned, you can use ads, you certainly can do that. But most people, that's not something they really want to do because they don't know. Now they've got to go try to figure out how to run ads. But what you can do is create content that when they type a specific phrase or a keyword in, your content rises to the top. Now, here's what I want to share with you. When I first started, and I want to say this, my YouTube channel is something like I think I maybe posted my first video in 2010, and then I abandoned my channel. And it wasn't even in what I'm teaching right now, it was in something else. I kept the same channel, but I changed gears and switched niches. I'll say it that way. But what I also want you to know is that I abandoned my channel for years. I'm talking probably 6 years, maybe longer than that. And then when I came back and started looking at it, what shocked me was there was content that people were still finding and watching. And it was because it was search based content. All right. So don't ever underestimate the power of search based content. The second part of that I want to share with you is once I decided I wanted to focus in on this niche, I went in hard on searchable content. Now, you have to understand I started really working with this channel more so probably late 2023, probably in that time frame. It might have been 2022. I'd have to go back and double check it. But I went in with a lot of search-based content. What that allowed people to do was folks that didn't know anything about me, it allowed them to find me. And that's how I grew my audience. That's how I, in most cases, continue to grow my audience, is because people are now finding content that I created in 23, 24, 25, and now they're getting to know me because they're watching multiple videos. The exact same thing will happen for you if you commit to creating the type of content that's going to allow people to find you. All right. Now, let's go ahead and talk about evergreen content because this is a little bit different. In some cases, it can be search based, but the thing about evergreen content is it is something that's going to be relevant for years to come. See, the difference is with search based content, let's say you created something 5 years ago and you described a process. Well, now perhaps that's something that, you can do using ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or Claude. And so people are going to look at it and say, well, this was created before, using AI was really relevant or didn't, where it wasn't something people were using. So even though that search based content may allow people to find you, it's maybe not as relevant right now as it was 5 years ago before AI became such a big thing. Whereas with evergreen content, that's something that's going to be relevant for years to come. Okay. So let's say, for example, you want to teach people how to knit a baby blanket. Well, that's evergreen. That's something that they can learn to do it today. And if somebody finds that piece of content that you created 3 years, 5 years, 7 years down the road, it's still going to be relevant. Now, maybe there's a new brand of yarn that becomes available, but the fact of the matter is the content is still relevant. The process is still the same. Okay. Baking bread, same type of thing. If you are baking bread and someone is searching for a recipe on how to do that, well, that piece of content is going to continue to be relevant. So do you see how what I'm saying is that there are topics that are going to be relevant for years, whereas with search based, the tools that are available could change, the methods that are used could change, and so on. So really, you kind of have to have a balance of both of them. And if you have a balance of both types of content, you're going to win. Okay. Now, you're not going to win overnight because it still takes time to be found. And that's something I want to share with you specifically when we're talking about things like evergreen and search based content on of platforms such as YouTube. If you're looking at your content on YouTube, it may start off very, very flat, very few views. But over time, it will kind of take this upward curve. Because it will end up in the, in the algorithm, if you will, and people will start finding it. It is not uncommon for a piece of search based content to really not take off for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I've even heard people say the piece of content didn't take off for a year, but once it takes off, it just continues to grow because, again, it's going to continue to be relevant. So just keep that in mind. All right. Evergreen content is not trend sensitive, if you will. It's not time sensitive. And it's going to continue to bring you traffic for years and months to come. I still have pieces of or videos that I have recorded, and I want to say I recorded them maybe in 23. I'll go back and look at the dates on them. And I'm still getting views every single hour on that. And it's because it's relevant content. The ones that are really getting the views, if you will, are things such as how to create an ebook. Well, I'm telling you, lots of people are coming onto the internet now and they want to learn how to create ebooks because for many people, they know they have knowledge, they want to do something, and for a lot of folks, and here's where you really have to get this. For a lot of people right now, they're looking for an additional stream of income. And so they know that if they can take their knowledge and drop it into an ebook, a guide, or something along those lines, well, that can be a way that they can generate income. So they go to YouTube and they try to figure out how they can create an ebook. Now, the same thing might be true. Some people know that they're great bakers and they're trying to figure out, how to bake cupcakes in the most efficient ways. I can think of a course that I took, and one of the individuals in the course, as a matter of fact, it was a course about courses, if that makes sense. But she knew how to make candy apples. She created an entire course around that. But before she did that, she had just been creating videos on YouTube. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, if she created videos on YouTube, why would somebody buy her course? Because courses are organized. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's why people will do it. People got to know her from there. She offered different things within her course that were not available on her YouTube channel. So people got to know her. So I want you to keep that in mind too. As people get to know you on, let's say, YouTube and, by watching your videos, they're going to ultimately consume even more of your content. And when you do have something to sell, now they feel like they know you. And if they want to go deeper with that content, they'll buy the course or digital product or, ebook or, pay for your masterclass, whatever it is that you're actually offering. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. All right. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is to think about how you can tie the evergreen and the searchable content into your overall strategy, because I feel like there should be several different components to your strategy. One should be, obviously the search base and the evergreen, but the second type of thing you should be incorporating into your overall content strategy is where you can repurpose the content that you create and that you can reuse the content you create. So how can you do all of that? But like I said, today we're going to just stay focused in on search based and evergreen. All right. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in to the search bar and I will be happy to answer it. Now, here's what I want to do. I'm going to share my screen here and I'm going to show you. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so I actually have YouTube up. And what I'm going to do here is show you how you can use the search bar. Let's say you're just not even sure what you should be thinking about as it comes to search-based content. So I'm going to use the topic, give me 1 second here to get ready to do this. I'm going to use the topic, let's just say baking. Okay, so how to bake. And I'm going to stop. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is this. All of these things that are popping up here, these are all potential ideas for you, but you've got to make sure it falls into your niche. So let's say you're not into sweet potatoes. That's not your thing. So let's say and you keep going, how to bake, and let's put cakes. All right. Now, here's what I want you to look at. Once I type that in, the top item that's going to show up, and these are considered to be keywords. Keywords are single words or phrases that people drop into search engines looking for things. Okay, so here I have how to bake cakes. Well, that's pretty generic, but look at all of these other things that popped up with it. How to bake cakes professionally, how to bake a cake without an oven. That's kind of interesting. How to bake a cake in the oven. Now, you might be thinking, my goodness, where else am I going to be baking a cake? Because that's your thing. You know how to bake. Well, everybody doesn't. Again, this is going to show you that. How to bake a cake in an air fryer, how to bake a cake in a microwave. Now, that would really be interesting. But what I want to do now is play what's called the alphabet game. So if you do how to bake cakes and then I hit the space bar and I type in A, what it's going to now do is give me a whole new series of things to do. So if I was looking for search-based content, I would do this. And the reason for it is where you see all of these phrases or keywords, these are things people have typed into YouTube or Google, okay, in order to get answers to them. So one of the things you see here is how to bake a cake from scratch, okay? How to bake a cake, Lil John, okay, who knew? So how to bake a cake, Lazy Town, how to bake a cake and decorate them. So what it did is when I typed in the letter A, it brought up the next section of items that people might be searching for. Now I could take that A out and put in a B. So once I do that, now it's going to say how to bake banana cake or how to bake cake bread. So it's popping all of these things up. Now let's see. Let me take out, now this is saying cakes. So how to bake a cake, and I'm going to do F. So from scratch, from cake mix. So this is where I'm saying you should never run out of content ideas as it relates to this. Now, another thing I could do is take out cake, and where it says how to bake, then I can do the underscore. Okay. And so this is going to bring things in. I think I'm going to come out of that because how to bake, let's do cupcakes and then space bar and A. So you see what it did there is now it's saying how to bake cupcakes at home, how to bake cupcakes at home easy. So just know that if you're thinking about topics that you can create content around, all of these are going to be specific topics that you can use. You can incorporate this. And if one of those pops up and you just don't know the answer to it, Well, don't use that. Only use and only create content that you specifically know how to create. So, that right there is a huge thing that you can do. Now, another thing you can do is you can go into Google. Now, I don't have my Google pulled up right now to be able to show you. I just have my YouTube pulled up. And I also want to go back and say one other thing. When I was in YouTube, if you'll notice, I wasn't signed in. So that, was kind of like an incognito window, which meant it was going to give me, some really good results. And so I want you to really go back in. And if you're trying to come up with some content ideas, go and do exactly what you just saw me do there, because that will give you lots of ideas. And you know for a fact this is proven because you know these are things that people have searched for. Okay. Now, let me give you some different ideas on, content that you can actually search, that could be considered search based. All right. So, what are people typing in? You just saw me do a few things like that. But let's say using my specific areas, it could be something like how to start a YouTube channel, how to create a digital product, how to build an email list. So these are all challenges or problems that people are having, and they may very well be looking for this. They're likely looking for it. So, where I'm saying how to create a digital product, you change out digital product and substitute it for your specific niche. So, how to create a baby blanket, how to, what were some of the other things? How to build cabinets, how to build, a dollhouse, how to build whatever. So just know that those are things that if you go through and do the search bar thing that I just did, I promise you those topics are going to pop up. Now, the other thing I want to go back to with regard to what we just did is oftentimes when you are actually doing what we just did on screen there, those are topics that brand new people are searching for, meaning they're new to that topic. And I think oftentimes people completely underestimate the power of creating content for brand new, for beginners. A good portion, and probably the largest portion of your audience of people that are going to find you are beginners. They're truly trying to figure things out. So even though you might be, working on content, unless you've just specifically said, no, I don't want to deal with beginners, I only want to deal with intermediate or advanced people. Trust me, if you are creating content for people that are brand new to a niche, you will always have an unlimited number of people that will be looking for content that's going to solve their problems. Why? We've kind of talked about it. Every single day, someone decides they want to learn something new about a specific topic, one that you, in fact, are teaching. Okay. And then the second thing is sometimes you have been doing this for so long, you've forgotten what beginners are trying to figure out. So, this is a great way for you to do it. All right. So, I could give you a whole list there of things that, you in fact could search for. But what I want you to think about is putting into the search engine how to, because that is a term that people often search for. Or can you tell me how to? That might be another way that people phrase it. Think of the things that people would type in to the search engine to get answers to simple questions. All right. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about some examples of evergreen content. And as I mentioned, evergreen topics are going to be things that are relevant today, tomorrow, next year, and so on. All right. So, one of the things could be mindset for entrepreneurs. Well, and remember, you just change out where it says entrepreneurs, you just change out. The information for your specific niche. All right. So, then another thing could be productivity tips for solopreneurs? Well, understand that these are things that people are in fact going to search for. Now, oftentimes when we're looking at things like this, it doesn't mean that they're only going to be beginners. Sometimes now, when we do topics like this, it could very well be someone that has been around this niche for a while and now they're trying to learn things. So, the productivity tips for solopreneurs, let me give you an example of how that could become relevant. Give me 1 second to drink some water here. So, when you are someone who is a solopreneur, a one person business owner, you're kind of doing everything. And so you at least initially. Now in time you may very well hire a virtual assistant or bring on some people that do specific tasks for you. But initially, you're probably doing everything and you're trying to figure all this stuff out. And so you'll eventually figure out you need to figure out how to be more productive with the time that you have. So you might start doing some searching for things like that. And if in fact if I have a video on this, and actually I think I do, one of the things that will happen is now people are thinking, okay, well, maybe this is a way that I can learn something. And see, the thing about even with productivity, if you're talking about how to make a video around productivity, if somebody is in fact looking for that, and you have it listed out in steps, or you can say, this is how you can be more productive as it relates to cleaning your house. This is how you can be more productive as it comes to reading books each day, or whatever it happens to be. And again, you've got to kind of put this all around your actual niche, but just know that you can teach things that people are going to be able to use for years and years to come. I actually read a book called Free to Focus, and it was all about how he was able to teach people to be more productive as an entrepreneur. And those tips have definitely helped me, because and I go back to that book regularly because, like with most books, if you read it through the first time, you'll get some of the concepts, but you go back through it and you'll get even more out of it. The same thing is going to happen with you. If you are giving people a list of things, the first time they watch the video, they may pick up on something, but something else didn't really, ring a bell for them, or, it wasn't important for them at the same time. But if they have saved your content, and lots of people will, then what happens is when they come back to it a year from now, because remember, it's still relevant, they come back and they watch it again a year from now, they pick something else up from it. So, I just don't want you to really miss out on the opportunity to grow your audience and build a deeper relationship by giving people, evergreen content, stuff they're going to come back to on a regular basis. All right. Okay. So, the thing that I want you to know about evergreen content is this: evergreen content is going to speak to problems that will always exist. Okay. So, that is the difference between that and searchable content. All right. So, we've already talked about using the search bar on YouTube. You can do the same thing with Google. If you go into Google and you type in how to, and you can do the exact same thing in terms of the space and then the letter of the alphabet, it's going to pop up topics that you can in fact use. And like I said, the thing that I love about this is, for a fact, if you're typing it into a search engine, and whatever it returns, those are things that people have actually searched for. And what I'm referring to is the autofill. When it starts autofilling things, or it gives you that list of topics, you can count on the fact that those are things people have in fact searched for. All right. Now, another thing that you can do is in the Google search, and I might just have to try to pull up. Hold on 1 second here. Let me see if I can pull this up so you can see what it is that I mean. I think what I'm going to have to do here. Hold on for me just a second and see if I can actually. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I'm on the wrong thing here. let me see if I can change this over and just go. Okay, so we're into Google now. Okay, so if I come over here and just start typing in how, oops, sorry, didn't hit the right button there. Okay, type in how to bake. Okay, and see, it's doing the same thing. Now, you might be saying, well, it's sharing, it's the same kind of stuff that was in YouTube. Well, remember, Google owns YouTube. So it's not uncommon. So let's change it out and let's say how to knit. Okay. So when I put in how to knit, you can see it's going to pop up these different topics: how to knit for beginners, how to knit a blanket. So it's popping all of this stuff in there. So, you get the picture. You see how all of this stuff kind of comes together. I don't want to bore you because we've actually already discussed that. But just know that that is definitely a way to do it. Now, the other thing is there is a section when you do this at the bottom of your page. And remember, I wasn't signed in, but if you were signed in, there's going to be a section at the bottom that's going to say related searches. Same thing. There might be some things down there that you haven't really even thought about. And then there's also a section on Google that says people are also asked. So something related, maybe not exactly what you typed in. Those two areas alone can be a gold mine for you. Now, another thing that you can do is to go into, if you started building an audience, go into your comments section and look specifically for questions, because oftentimes what will happen is someone will comment on, let's say, the video that you've created, or if you've created a post on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram or even Threads, and they'll respond to what it is that you have actually created, but then they will ask you a question. And what I like to say is this: if the question is something that you think other people can benefit from, then that's probably something you should create a piece of content on. The second part of that is if the same question is being asked over and over again, you definitely should create content on that. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't have an audience. And I can remember what that feeling was like. And people would always say, well, just ask your audience. Well, if you don't have one, it's challenging to ask them. So, how do you get around that? Real simple. Find a content creator in the same niche with a much larger audience than you have, and go through the comments section that they have on their various videos. I promise you, there are going to be pieces of content that you can create from the comments section of their videos. Now, why is that even important? Because oftentimes, as a creator becomes very large and they start getting lots and lots of questions on their content, on their videos, they don't have time to go back in and actually grab all those questions and create content on it. But you do. So if you're looking for ideas, this is definitely one of the ways to do it. So, all right. So Denise said, questions can prove to be a gold mine. I'm telling you, they absolutely can. One of the videos that I created was about an ebook, and somebody put into the comments, could you create an ebook on, or could you create a video on how to create a flip book? Now, I had never even thought about that. And I'll tell you what, that book video is definitely within the top 10 of all of my actual recorded videos. Had I not looked at the comments section, I would have never thought to create that video. And it didn't take me long to create. And I simply set it up as a tutorial, and that tutorial is definitely what helped me out there. Now, let me give you one other thing, or a few other tools that you can use. Answer the Public. You can go to answerthepublic.com, type in your niche, and it's going to pull in questions from all over the internet, not just Google, not just YouTube. It's going to pull in questions around that niche that you can definitely use. Uber suggests you can actually use that. And then there are two pieces of software that are specific more so to YouTube. One is called TubeBuddy and another is called vidIQ. Now, I've used them both. I probably use vidIQ more than TubeBuddy, but what it allows me to do is to get content ideas, and then you can look at them and determine which ones are going to be most relevant to your audience. And as I mentioned, because you're trying to figure out how you can incorporate some search based content into your overall strategy, make sure to pull some of those as well. All right. Now, here's another place that I think is great to get content ideas for you, and specifically the search based in the evergreen. And it's going to be either DMs that you might receive, because some people won't comment, but they will send you a direct message. Now, it's a little challenging to send a direct message. I don't even think there is a way at this point to do it with YouTube. So you might have to check your Facebook or your Instagram or threads. And oftentimes, because people are a little less, maybe they're a little more shy, I'll say it that way, and they don't really want, the question out in the public for everybody to read, they will send it to you in a DM. I get lots of DMs through my Facebook account, Facebook business page account, and also my Instagram. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they've watched content because they'll reference a video. Why didn't they just put the comment there? Well, as I mentioned, some people are a little bit more introverted and they don't want their comment or question in a public forum. So just look at that as a way also to get things. Now, another way is emails. So if you don't yet have an email list, you should be working on an email list, because as you create an email and you send it out, you can simply say to people, hit reply and ask me a question, or some people will just do it anyway. Now, I definitely want you to, when someone takes the time to ask you a question through your email, definitely, I'm not saying you shouldn't always respond to things, but definitely reply to that, because it took more effort for them to hit reply, type their question, and send it to you. And oftentimes you're going to find that people are just shocked when you actually respond back to them. Now, a lot of these things that I'm telling you about in terms of, creating content and also, having an email list and so forth, these are things that are part of my content pillars, which you should have. And your content pillars are just areas of focus, things that you're going to focus in on. So, one of the things that I've done is I have been, for the last month now, beta testing within my community some different topics with a group of people that are really pretty awesome. And they agreed to be my beta testers in there. And so, what I want you to understand is that I can teach so much here in my on my YouTube channel, but in my community, one of the things I can tell you is I can get more hands-on, meaning I can show my screen, I can put in courses and so forth. So in that community, what I'm doing is going to focus in on teaching people how to build a business, a digital business, right from the very start, meaning how to build an audience, how to build an email list, how to create and sell digital products, and then also how to incorporate affiliate marketing into all of that. And so these are things that are going to allow you to create a business that's going to be thriving, an online business that's going to thrive. Most people hang up their shingle as an online business owner and immediately create a digital product. Well, who are you going to sell it to? Yeah, you could take it to Etsy, but you're going to get knocked off. You're going to sell it for way less. There are just things that I can teach you to do in a community and show you how to build it from the ground up, because I've actually done that. So if you're interested, I'm going to open the community up to the public on Monday, March 23rd. So depending on when you're watching this, It may already be open, but if you want to get on the wait list, there's a wait list link in the description box below this video. So, by all means, make sure if you're interested in the types of topics that I talked about, that you in fact get on that waiting list so I can send you an invitation on Monday and let you in. All right. So, I just wanted to make sure I covered that in case you're interested. And then the other thing is, I want to give you some information on how to find evergreen topics. All right. So I want you to think when give yourself a few minutes and I want you to think about this. Okay. Which is what problems are going to exist, not just today, but are going to exist next year. That's one of the best ways to figure out if something's going to be evergreen. So, one of the things that, oh, yeah, Denise, I'm going to share with you a story. I'll remember to share that in just a second about some affiliate, one particular affiliate program that I've promoted very, very, not even a whole lot. I talk about it, but that alone I've made over $1,500 from. And I don't push people, I just simply talk about it and people get in. So I will definitely be teaching you affiliate marketing because you need to incorporate that based upon the audience that you have. All right, so let's go back to these questions. So the first thing is what problems will still exist next year, and what questions will beginners always ask? Okay, so if somebody is going to be hosting Thanksgiving, okay, what do they need to know? If someone wants to create a baby blanket for a newborn, they want to make that. What do they need to know? If someone wants to make a quilt, what do they need to know? Because wouldn't you agree that those topics are not only relevant today, but they're going to be relevant next year and 2 years down the road. I'm trying to think of different things. If somebody is into calligraphy, they want to learn calligraphy. Well, the strokes, what types of strokes do they need to know? What types of practice texts should they be doing? I don't know. I kind of looked at some calligraphy stuff, not that artistic. So, but I'm just saying that that is definitely something. What types of tools will they need for that? Maybe they're trying to figure out how to learn calligraphy because they want to send their wedding invitations out. And then once they send their wedding invitations out, maybe somebody comes to them and says, "Would you do my wedding invitations?" So again, that could be something that's relevant because they're going to need to know, like I said, what tools they will need to use, what paper works best, and so forth. So just know that. I want to give you enough ideas of things within a variety of topics so that it will start to kind of make, your brain start thinking, oh yeah, I could incorporate that into, my content, my evergreen strategy, if you will. All right. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you is go through your content pillars. And as I mentioned, your content pillars are going to be 3 to 5 specific topics that your ideal customer is going to be interested in that you are going to continuously create content around. Go through them and figure out which topics you could create searchable content on and which topics you could create evergreen content on. All right. And then the next thing is I want you to think about how you can take one topic and turn it into multiple pieces of evergreen content. Now, here's where I think you could really shine with this. You create a series. All right. So, as I mentioned, in a series, I'll use my example. I showed or created, I think it's about 5 to 7 videos. It's in a playlist now, and I'll see if I can pull it up here. But basically, I take someone from how to come up with the ideas for an ebook all the way through the point of creating it and then showing them how to set it up on a platform that I recommend, which is System.io. There's a link below this video for that as well. And I walk them through it. And so if they watch the full playlist, they literally know how to create an ebook. I've walked them through the entire process. And then in the videos, I also teach them how to put it up for sale. Okay. So a series is a great way. So think about maybe 5 to 7. You take a topic and you break it down into 5 to 7 different videos, if you will, or post if you want to do it. Now, I'm specifically talking YouTube at this point, but that's a great way to do it because now they're going to watch that first one. And now you're going to lead them into the second one. Then you'll lead them into the third one, and so on. So people begin binge watching your content, very similar to what they do with a series on Netflix. And it's all because it's all relevant to the same thing. So, what could you turn into multiple pieces of evergreen content? That's one of the things that you should be thinking about. Okay. And so, with all of this, what it's going to do is to give you a catalog of content that is going to work for you 24/7. Why will it work 24/7? Because people might be watching this in Europe. People might be watching this in Hawaii. People might be watching this in another, part of the world, Australia, someplace else. And they're watching this at different times. And so this is where your content can really begin to put in the work for you. It's working for you because you're asleep and people are still watching all of this, or you're on vacation and people are watching it because it continues to be relevant. If you are only creating content that's trending, you're going to work hard. I'm just telling you that because you got to constantly be jumping on topics or trends, I should say. And for most of us, if you are trying to build a true business with a catalog of content that's going to work for you, you definitely need to incorporate searchable and evergreen content. All right. Now, the other thing is, what I like about using these two different formats is you don't need to do any ads. This stuff's organic because people are already searching for it. And you don't have to have a large audience. This is what's going to draw people into you. This is how people are going to find you. Every single day, someone finds me. And it's because I have a bank of evergreen content and I have a bank of searchable content. So I just definitely want you to see that. And I want you to really understand that these are two things that are going to bring the audience in. So if you've been scratching your head and you've been trying to figure out how to grow an audience, this is how to do it. This is exactly how I did it. And let's see, I don't have a huge YouTube audience. I think I'm at maybe 8,400 subscribers or something like this. But guess what? On in 2023, no, 2024, I think I had 990 subscribers. Why do I know that? Because I abandoned the channel and it just sat there. And so in the last few years, and it might have been 2024, I really need to pull that up to take a look at it to see. But those people came in from watching search-based and evergreen content. And so I know it works. And, lately I've been doing more live trainings, but what I know I'd have to do is go back in and began doing more recorded videos like I did, because by doing that, my audience will just continue to grow. If my audience will grow, your audience will grow. And the thing about it is you're going to be surprised by some of the things you're going to hear from people in your comments as you start creating content. They're going to come in and say, I love the way you explained that. You were the only one that explained it to me in such a way that I actually got it and understood it. So people are waiting for you to show up. People are absolutely waiting for you to show up. So for you to sit on the sidelines with this gift inside of yourself that other people are waiting to understand, to learn, and so forth, you're just blocking your own ability to be successful. And I'm going to say this because we all kind of feel like this. It's very, very normal and natural to be uncomfortable in front of a camera. It's even uncomfortable sharing pieces of content, but you have to put yourself out here. And here's what I can say. You wouldn't be watching this live if there wasn't something inside of you that says, I want to build a business. If there wasn't something inside of you that says, I have something to share with other people. And you can't put that thought down because you know that's what you want to do. Because if it was just a passing thought, you wouldn't think about it anymore. It would happen one time in your head and you'd be on to something else. But oftentimes, it just keeps coming back to us. I want to share this. I want to build an audience. I want to help women. I want to help, millennials. I want to help, children that maybe have learning disabilities. Whatever it is you want to learn, there is somebody right now waiting to learn it from you. And so I like to make sure I take a little time and do some mindset training because oftentimes, we have these gifts inside of us, but we let fear keep us on the sidelines. We think, well, there's somebody out there that's already teaching that. Of course there is. But I also want you to think about this. If you look at any major city, even a smaller city, I promise you, there is a McDonald's probably every half a mile. Does that stop Burger King and all the other restaurants from opening up new restaurants? It absolutely doesn't. And so you have a gift. You have a way of sharing things. You may have a way of breaking things down that somebody else can't do. You might also be of a certain age, and maybe people want to learn from you versus a 20 something. Maybe you are a 20 something and a 60 something doesn't want to learn from you. So, we all have something in us. And if in fact we are willing to share our gifts, you're going to be surprised at the number of people that are going to come back to you and say, thank you. I've been waiting for you to show up. I've been waiting to learn from you. I've seen people who will allow their accents to hold them back. I've seen people that will allow their teeth to hold them back. I've seen people that will allow how they look, the amount of weight that they're carrying around, to hold them back. No, there's time out for this. At this point, there are people that want to learn. And you know what? Oftentimes they have those same challenges, those same, problem. And I don't want to call them problems because in most cases, those aren't even problems. They just want to learn from somebody who gets them and can explain it to them in the way that they, in fact, can understand it. You and I could teach the exact same thing. I mean, exact same 4 or 5 content pillars, but you might teach it in a way that people would prefer to learn from you. I teach it in a different way, and that is okay. So you need to, at this point, make a decision that you are going to let your gifts be known. You're going to share them with the world. You're going to put them out there so people can learn from you. And I promise you, your audience will show up. If you keep showing up, eventually your audience is going to show up. All right. Boy, I was really on that one, huh? So maybe I should get off of that. So, thank you so much, Denise. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's go back to this one. Yep, tools, paper, calligraphy. My goodness, yeah, go back in and do the search engine things to make that happen. So, all right, and if you seek, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate all the thumbs up. And let's do this. No, you know what? Here, I'm going to tell you a story because this is definitely something I want to share. Okay. And there is a book that I read as a result of it. But let me tell you the story. Okay. For those of you that may know who Beyonce is, maybe you don't know, but Beyonce, superstar, go look her up if you don't know who she is. Beyonce is very introverted. So, what Beyonce used to do was in her brain, she used to send her alter ego out on the stage to perform. Now, it was Beyonce, but she assumed this persona of confidence and, a true performer. And Sasha Fierce would get out there and do her thing. Now, you might have to do the same thing. Todd Herman, that was the alter ego, I believe is the name of the book by Todd Herman. Kobe Bryant was one of his clients. And so he taught Kobe how to develop this persona and send him out to get on the basketball court and do his thing. Okay. And sometimes you're going to have to do that until you can, in fact, get past the fear. And see, the things that oftentimes you are worried about, other people don't care about, the people that want to learn from you. So, again, we cannot allow our fear to hold us back. I'm confident that you have some dreams. I'm confident that you have some goals that you want to achieve. I'm confident that you probably have some income you want to earn. Well, you know what? You either address your fear and move outside of your comfort zone and make those things happen, or you stay stuck. And I promise you, somebody else with less talent than you is going to show up on the scene, and they don't know half of what you know. They can't teach half as well as you can, but because they showed up, they're going to grow and they're going to soar. So I need you to commit to facing your fear every single day. Just do something that scares you every single day. I think that was Eleanor Roosevelt's quote. Every single day, I need you to do something that scares you. For me, I'm telling you, live streaming was terrifying. But you know what? I made a decision that I was going to do it. And I'll tell you what, I fell flat on my face the first time. It was horrible. I tell everybody that. But I kept going. See, I don't have it in me to quit. And I always say, like to tell people, I quit one time for 10 minutes and then I got back up and I went at it. That's how you feel. And I'm going to tell you how I know you don't have it in you to quit. It keeps coming back into your mind. You keep thinking about how you're going to structure this. You're going to keep thinking about how you're going to teach it. If it keeps coming back to you, it's what you're meant to do. It's what, you should be sharing. So let's make a commitment to each other now. As a matter of fact, when I get off of here, I'm going into the community and I'm going to post this, that we are not going to allow fear to hold us back. This is our year where we are going to push fear to the side and face it. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's going to always go away, because the next time there's going to be a new fear that's going to pop up. But you know what? We're going to keep addressing each one of them. Okay. So I kind of got off topic there, but you all get it. And I feel like it was definitely something that needed to be said about, not only addressing our fears, but, teaching you the stuff about the content. So I'll be back next week, Wednesday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern time. Again, the community is going to be opening up. I'm also teaching within my community. The members are going to be able to invite people in and earn a 40% commission on, any products that people choose to buy, any upgrades they do. But the community itself, the bigger community, is actually free to join. So as I said, make sure that you, in fact, get on the wait list if you're watching before the 23rd. And if it's after that, then join, and I'll see you in the community. But otherwise, you all have an awesome day and an even better week, and I will see you next week, Wednesday. Take care. Bye.